Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of College Hockey Talk. On today's episode, I'm joined by sophomore from the Western Michigan hockey team, Max Sasson. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast, Max, and how's everything going?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's going well. We're on a break here, and we get back playing hockey next week against Michigan Tech and big tournament at the GLI. So it'll be awesome.
Yeah, and obviously your team's entering the second half of the season, number 18th in the country. How would you evaluate your team's performance so far this season?
Yeah, I think we've been really good in some games and not so good in others. And I think we had a tough little ending to the first half there, but we won a lot of big games, beat some good teams, and I think there's some games we'd like to have back. But we're super optimistic about the second half.
And obviously, being a ranked team comes with a lot of pressure. I'm curious how your team deals with that pressure and how you guys remain consistent throughout the season, especially since, like you said, there's a lot of ups and downs in a college hockey season, especially in a league like the NCHC where there's so many good teams.
Yeah, I think our leadership does a great job of keeping us focused. All the guys that have been here and the guys that have played a lot of college hockey games, that the transfers, and then our coach does a great job too. We all love playing for him. He's a big time players coach, but he keeps you on your toes. And yeah, we all stay focused, and we're looking forward to Michigan Tech for sure.
Now, what are your team's goals and expectations for the second half of the season? Is it just to, get in a tournament spot in the pairwise and win the NCHC?
Yeah, I think that for sure you nailed it on the head. One for sure, getting in the NCAA tournament, giving yourself a chance once you get in there. I mean, anything can happen, and yeah, so getting in the NCAA tournament, and then obviously trying to win the Penn Rose and going into the Frozen Face-Off, just trying to do those things to get there, and hopefully we'll do it.
Yeah, what's it like playing in the NCHC? Because it's arguably one of the best conferences in college hockey. You got teams like Denver, St. Cloud State, even teams like Colorado College that might not have the best record. They still like have a lot of good players and really challenge teams every night. So what's it like playing in that conference?
It's the hardest conference in college hockey, I'd say for sure. I know you're a Hockey East guy, and they're having really good a lot of good teams from there too. But yeah, every night it's just a battle, and it feels like the travel is pretty far too compared to other leagues. So it's a battle every night, and especially when you're flying and you're on the road for 3-4 days. I mean, by that Saturday night, it's really tough to win on the road in any building in the NCHC.
Yeah, I feel like the NCHC is like the Midwest version of Hockey East. I feel like they're very similar conferences where you have a lot of high-end draft picks. We also have some really good college hockey players that stay for all 4 years and really make an impact with their program. And it's just cool and also just the depth as well. Like five or
Yeah.
six teams could make the tournament every year in the NCHC. And I think it's similar to Hockey East. And I know there's people like to have that debate, but in my opinion, I think they're tied with the best conference in college
Yeah.
hockey.
Yeah, I agree. I think any different year you look at it, it could go either way. But yeah, I agree. I mean, college hockey, especially with the transfer portal now. I mean, every team is so good, and I mean, you got a lot of fifth year seniors at that COVID year, and there's so many competitive teams. It feels like anyone, any night. I know it sounds cliche, but it's the truth this year for sure. I mean, there's been a lot of crazy scores.
Now, talk about your team a little bit because one thing I noticed about your team is you have a lot of new players. So, how does your team build chemistry since you arrived how has your team, I guess, build that chemistry since you arrived on campus this fall? And is it something that is organic or is it something that you have to kind of build upon during training camp and as the beginning
Yeah.
of the season starts?
Yeah, I think it helps that we all come in during the summer, most of us, and the new guys who don't have places yet, kind of come in and live with some of the boys, and I mean that helps chemistry a bunch, right? Just living with a different guy that you from UConn or wherever, and yeah, and then throughout the season, I think that's the number one way to get chemistry is when you start playing games, you start going on the road with the boys, you start winning games, and the long bus trips and the nights on the road, I think are huge. And I think then also Western, I don't know, we spend a lot of time at the rink hanging out with each other, and yeah, it happens kind of just organically as it kind of keeps going.
And obviously, you lost a lot of key players from last year's team. Was it hard kind of replacing those roles this year, or was it something that your team just tried to, I guess, not forget about it, but just try to build your own chemistry, like create your own team and not kind of rely upon last year's team's identity?
Yeah, I mean, last year was a special year for sure, and we had so many guys who were so veteran college hockey players, and then this year it's I mean, I think a bunch of guys are ready to take steps, and I mean, Jason Poland's having a really good year, and Luke Granger is having a good year, and we returned 4D that play, and we got two transfers who are both veteran college hockey players, so I think. I think he definitely wish he had Ronnie Attard and some Ethan Frank and Bussy and whatever that we had last year. But guys step up, and like Cameron Rowe has been really good for us, and the guys that came in and replaced their spots have been really good too. So it's tough, but you move on, and you're excited. Guys are excited to take on that new role.
How's Carter Berger doing at Western Michigan? I know you see the UConn jersey behind me. Loved
Yep.
watching him play with the Huskies for the past 3 years. I miss him, but obviously I hope he's doing well with Western Michigan.
Yeah, he's one of my good friends on the team, and he's just a great guy. First off the ice, he was voted most someone you want on your team the most, and he's an incredible hockey player too. His skating ability, his passing, his vision. He runs our power play unit that is doing probably fifth or sixth in the country right now, and he's the real deal. And I'm glad he found a home with us because yeah, I think he'd be good on any college hockey team.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I heard someone told me that you chirped Brian McAllister for his AJHL points because he's
Oh
playing the
man.
USHL. I have to hear a little bit inside story about that chirping that goes on between you two.
Yeah, I mean, last year leading up to him coming in, all the boys were saying, "Who's this guy we're getting right with 139 points or whatever he had, some ridiculous number." And I think it is 139. He likes to tell me that all the time. But yeah, we always give it to him, all the USHL guys, because there's no way he would have done that in the USHL. I mean, it was fun, cute numbers that he threw up there and in the AJ, but he knows deep down that it's it's a B tier league for sure.
In his defense, Cale Makar did play on the same team
Yeah,
that he played
no, he
for, so
did.
he has that
I'm
going for
not sure.
him.
There's a lot of good players that come out of the league, and we have some guys coming into Western, but he doesn't understand the grind of the USHL for sure. But we like to let him know, and I think it's fun giving it back and forth, talking him, his path. I mean, clearly the AJHL worked for him. He's leading the country in points, but I think he could have used a year in the USHL too.
Yeah, he reminds me a lot of Ethan Frank. I know that's sort of a kind of a lazy comparison, just because they
Right.
both produced a lot of points. But do you sort of notice similarities between those two in their games?
Yeah, I think they both have different qualities that make them good, and some of them that make them. They both are really good at slowing down the game, especially in the offensive zone, making plays. I mean, Frankie had an incredible shot, and Ryan has a really good release. Right, his shot is a little different, where Frankie would one time him, and he kind of pulls it in and snaps him off. But I mean, Ryan's been unreal. It's so fun playing with him. The guy, he has eyes in the back of his head. I mean, he when he gets a chance, he's gonna put it in the. He's gonna make you pay. And yeah, him and Frankie are similar, and they both throw up a lot of points for sure.
And what's it like having a new goalie in Cameron Rowe? Do you have to build that communication? Because obviously with the goalie, I think it's important to have good communication, especially since goalies now have to move the puck around a lot. How have you built that communication with Cameron, and what's it like having him in net this year?
Yeah, that's our D and him work a lot on and the low forward work a lot on goalie touches over up, whatever it may be. And I think Cameron would tell you that for sure at the beginning of the year it was a process. I mean, new D, new goalie, like that process is always hard. And I mean, over the last month or so, he's been snapping around like a 6D out there, honestly. And he's been impressive. And when he's on, I mean, he's one of the best, I think, for sure.
And it must be weird in practice too, because Bussy was a left-handed goalie, and that's something I noticed watching Bruins development camp, which I thought was interesting. Is it weird to sort of transition to more of a normal with a right hand catching goalie
Yeah,
versus a lefty?
I mean, Bossy was he was like impossible to score on in practice. He's so big, takes up so much of the net, and um, Yeah, it's for sure different. Yeah, for shooting on Cameron, they play a little different. Cameron, I think, is he moves around a little bit more. But Bussy was so big that he just took up the whole net, and yeah, it's for sure different. Shooting on different goalies is fun though, right?
And obviously, you've improved a lot since your freshman year. Individually, what's like the biggest improvement you think you've made to your game this season, and how did you work on those improvements in the off season that led to the success that you're having so far this year?
Yeah, I think I worked a lot on my speed during the off season and gaining that extra step. And honestly, I thought I was having at the end of last year. I thought I really started to come on the scene and make plays, get some points, whatever, play a lot more. And then this year, I mean, Jason Poland and I played together last year, and Ryan came on our line, and it's all kind of just fit. And we've been playing really good hockey, and but yeah, I mean, obviously, all credit goes to the off season for those things, and just being one more year mature and slowing the game down. I like to say.
Yeah, obviously, as a freshman, you're sort of trying to find your role, and then
Right.
obviously trying to get used to college hockey. Not having to deal with that this year must be sort of a weight lifted off your shoulders a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it's been um, yeah, kind of just being more calm in big situations for sure.
Now, obviously, you get to play in Lawson Arena in front of the Lawson Lunatics, one of the craziest fan bases. And I've never been to a game, but
Oh, you should.
watching on TV, I think it's so cool how you have the student section near the penalty box. I wish more colleges actually did that because they get to watch the whole entire game instead of just having to watch a guy shoot on the net twice if you're
Yeah.
behind it. What's it like playing in front of those fans, and any crazy stories you've heard from the penalty box trips that they've had on opposing players?
Yeah, I mean, just going out there and for a couple games this year, we went out there for warm-ups, and they liked when we played the Ohio teams, and they're chanting "F Ohio" in warm-ups, and we're looking around like, boys, this is gonna be a crazy atmosphere, and just every time, I mean, you just get chills. They play jump around before the game, like right before the puck drops, and it's one of the coolest things ever. And then I mean, they're so good at chirping the other team. They had they have some really funny signs on it. I don't know, some I probably I don't know if I should say on air or not, but like chirping the other team, they're getting pretty personal, and they yeah, they do it right in KZoo with Lawson Lunatics, and it's so fun giving them a show for sure.
Yeah, especially they do their research for sure on their
Yeah,
trips.
big time.
I thought that honestly that Michigan game this year might have been like the best atmosphere in college hockey so far this season. That was really cool to like just you could see it on a
It
screen. I
was
can only imagine what it's like playing in it.
It was insane. Yeah, my dad's like best friend from college came to that game, and he was, he doesn't watch hockey at all, and he was like, "That's the coolest game I've ever been to." And I mean, he goes to Wisconsin football games and stuff like these. I mean, until you experience it in person, it's tough to even like grasp how cool it really was. I mean, then they're yelling the entire game. You can't hear a thing the entire game, and I mean, we score. It was 2-0 then we tie it up. Then they go up 4-2. Then we tie it up. Then they score. Then we tie it up with like a minute left. Actually, Berger, and I mean, those games. That's something. I mean, no matter how many NHLers they have and we have, I think that's something you'll remember forever. Both teams.
Now there is a couple of games I want to get into regarding the first half of your season. One of them was the Notre Dame game. How important was that win, non-conference win for your team? And I feel like that sort of like helped transition to the run that guys had towards the end of the first half.
Yeah, it's a huge rivalry game, and up until that point, we hadn't played anyone to that caliber probably, and I mean, we go there and we have a battle. It's like shots are 32-32, lose that game, and then come home and sold out Lawson and just kind of dominate them from the drop. And that was a huge win, huge momentum gainer to see that we can beat the top teams, and for the new guys to see that like this is how we play, and we don't back down from anyone type of attitude.
And you guys also got to go to Nashville this year and play in the Music City Hockey Classic. What was that experience like for you? Obviously, it was a little disappointing not being able to play at Bridgestone
Yeah.
Arena, but still a fun experience nonetheless, it seemed like.
Yeah, that was sweet. Coach asked us last year if we wanted to do that, and I mean, no brainer, right? Went down there, practiced on the big sheet. Unfortunately, they had the flood, and we couldn't. But it ended up working out because we went to their like practice facility where they hold like development camp and training camp and stuff, and it ended up being like sold out. So anytime I don't care if it's a youth rink or practice rink, if there's a lot of people there and it looks packed, it's always cool. And we played a great game, back and forth, and ended up getting the win, which was cool, and got to see some of Nashville and hang out down there. So it was awesome.
Yeah, what's Nashville like? Because I'm a big music guy, and everyone said that like it's like a great city for music.
Yeah, are you a big music guy?
Oh yeah, I'm starting to get into country music because
Yeah,
last summer I interned for a baseball team, and there's a lot of guys from the South, and they listen to country music a lot. So that's sort of how I got into it. And yeah, it's something that I definitely want to see what it's like. I probably wouldn't want to live there, but it's definitely
yeah,
somewhere I would want to go
yeah.
for
I
like a
think
weekend
for
for.
sure you should get down there and check it out. I mean, every place you go has live music, and all kinds of music too, right? Like just I mean, there's country, there's rock, um, there's yeah, I mean, there's everything, and it's pretty cool. Like I'm not the biggest country or rock guy and myself, but hearing someone perform live, like with the Zombies, I don't even know that song. It's classic. I don't know, like those memories will be there forever. Just hearing someone live that maybe isn't like famous right now, but they might be, in a couple of years. You start to see them on, right? Like, so I think some of the big country singers started.
So I now want to get into the beginning of your hockey career and kind of work all the way up to where you are today. So doing research on yourself, it says you're from Birmingham, Michigan. So talk about growing up there and how'd you start playing hockey?
Yeah, so it's 20 minutes from Detroit, and my dad's friends kind of they all kind of had the idea like let's get these kids into hockey. And I started with a figure skating coach when I was like 3 or 4, really young, and kind of worked my way up through. I played double A my whole life, so if any kids are listening, for sure don't be discouraged if you play double A. And then my U16 year, I ended up making the OJG Grizzlies, like really my only AAA team that I could get on, and ended up doing well there. And yeah, kind of got to Brookings, got to Cedar Rapids, got juniors, and yeah. But growing up, it was just a lot of kids from Detroit play hockey, and that's what I did. So
Who was your favorite player growing up? I'm assuming it was someone on the Red Wings.
yeah, Henrik Zetterberg, without a doubt. Watching those games, going to those games, Um, that guy is someone that I try to model my game after, and um, he's a special player, a special guy to the city, and that he will always be my favorite player for sure.
It's crazy how he was a seventh round pick. Like, I don't know like how
Yeah,
he fell through the cracks like that in that draft.
yeah, it made no sense. Him, Datsuk, 6th round. Yeah, we were just watching something in the locker room, talking about how Datsuk dropped so low and then Ken Holland finally was like, all right, I'll take him. And he ended up being Pavel Datsuk. It was crazy that those guys were such late picks.
Now, before college hockey, you played in the USHL for the Cedar Rapid Rough Riders and the Waterloo Blackhawks. I'm
Yep.
curious how you got the opportunity to play in the USHL.
Yeah. So I got out of my U16. I got drafted by Muskegon, um, and I went there. Ended up playing one game after my null season, and they switched coaches, and I got cut. So I was going to go back to the null. I was all set up. I was actually at main camp for Brookings again, and I got a call from Mark Carlson, who said, "Do you want to come to our 40-man camp? Like, I don't know, I can't guarantee a spot or anything, but you can come and see what you can do." And then they cut it down to 30, and cut it down to 23, 25, and 23, and fortunate to make that team. And then I wasn't even supposed to play really, and some injuries or whatever, and got in the lineup. And yeah, I thank Mark Carlson a lot for taking a chance on me, because that changed my career for sure.
And what was it like playing in the USHL, and how did it help prepare you for college hockey with Western Michigan?
It's the best league in the world, like we talked about earlier. I mean, every game that we play in college, you look over and you're like, oh, I played against this guy 30 times when he was in Dubuque, or I played against this guy, so many times when he was in Chicago, or it's the same faces, and a lot of the guys playing USHL are going to play in college, and you learn to battle with them, and you get to know their games, and you get to kind of know them through the ice, and it's a really cool experience, and the hockey's so good, and you get to play against the best players, which prepares you for college for sure.
You still stay in touch with your junior teammates, even if you play against them sometimes?
Yeah, for sure. We were in Nashville, and we stayed at same hotels Northeastern. I saw Aiden McDonough. I played with him in Cedar Rapids. Liam Walsh, Justin Ritzkovian. I mean, every game it seems like we play. I played with someone on the other team, which is really cool. And yeah, playing against those guys and playing for your pride and your school and your team is it's something that juniors doesn't get done for sure. It's a big sense of pride playing college.
Now, what's the best memory you have at the USHL when you look back on it today?
I always like to think of we play a Thanksgiving game, Cedar Rapids versus Waterloo, and it's a big rivalry actually. It's funny that I played in Waterloo too, but when I was in Cedar Rapids and we played the Thanksgiving game, that was like the first time that I looked around and I was like, wow, like this is a big deal. Like there's 4,000 people. They're all on Thanksgiving night, like coming to a USHL game to watch us play, and we actually ended up losing pretty bad, but I'll never forget that feeling of walking out and seeing a sold out crowd for the first time. I still get chills thinking about it.
Now, talk about your recruitment process to Western Michigan and what made you want to go to Western Michigan versus other schools you might have looked at.
Yeah, well, I was originally committed to Maine, and some things happened, and I don't. They didn't see me playing a bunch there, and then I was used kind of that as motivation, and I said that I was gonna get other offers, and um, throughout the 40-man camp, there were some teams that approached me, and then Western just seemed like the best fit. I mean, 2 hours away, you can't really beat it. I knew about the Lunatics. Some of my buddy's brothers actually played there, and Andy Murray I had a really good relationship with him, and Coach Verschweiler now. He was the assistant coach, and I felt comfortable, so it was an easy decision.
Yeah, and what was like the biggest adjustment you had to make to college hockey? Was it the speed, the physicality, or just going against like some older players that you normally wouldn't play against in USHL? Because usually you're the older guy in the USHL, and then
Yeah.
once you're a freshman in college, you're like now the youngest on the team, which is kind of a
Yeah.
weird transition.
Yeah, I mean the physicality is number one for sure. Playing with a cage on, I think, is a lot different, and the guys being older, stronger, faster. You don't have much room out there, and you make a play, and it seems like you're getting hit every time. Which in the USHL I didn't really experience as much. So I think just keeping your head up and knowing how much time and space you have is the difference in college. It feels like against especially the top teams that time and space is just so limited both ways. So
What's it like playing under Coach Ferschweiler? He seems like a very scary guy when I see him on TV.
yeah, that's what everyone says. He's not. He's he could be, and he is scary when you mess up for sure. But he holds us accountable. But he also is our biggest fan. He always says he wants to get us paid, play pro, win championships, and he really means that. And he's also, I mean, he was the Red Wings assistant coach and for a little bit, and so his video sessions are so precise and so good. I've never seen anything like it. We're always prepared, which is big.
Well, I saw the video of the practice with the parachutes, and that seemed like, oh my gosh, like what's it like when you guys have a bad game? It must be even like more bag skating than that.
Oh yeah, we don't back skate too much. But honestly, those aren't even the coaches telling us to do that. That's after practice. Guys want to get extra work. We have the parachutes, and we have our coach time it and stuff, our assistant coach, but those are not mandatory. Unlike I think the everything college hockey guys thought they might be.
Yeah.
But No, there was those guys just I mean, I sometimes do it, sometimes whoever wants to do them that day. We always try to do something at the end of practice. So the parachutes though are tough.
Now, was it weird going through a coaching transition once you were getting into Western Michigan? Because that must be weird, like thinking that you're going to play under one coach and then have it change like in the middle of the summer.
Yeah, that happened out of nowhere. We were just we were there in the summer and we got an email from our assistant coach and said we have a meeting with our AD and guys are like what's going on? What's going on? We thought maybe new rink or I don't know, tons of options, but no one ever really mentioned that the coaching change. And Andy walked in and said, I'm really proud that I coached some of you guys, and it's like the new guys, and we trust Pat. And yeah, it was kind of just out of nowhere, and the season started in 2 weeks, so you really didn't have much time to think about it. And then we ended up, I mean, I don't know, we started off 12-2 or something the next year, so you kind of just forgot about it. And I was just rolling with first, and so were the boys.
What was your talk about your freshman year a little bit? Obviously, your team had a historical run, being a number one seed in the national tournament, making it all the way to the Elite Eight, basically in the national tournament. So, talk about what you took away from your freshman year, because it seemed like for me, your team progressed, but then you also progressed as well as the season went along.
Yeah. Well, I got there and the guys were telling me that we were going to have a really good team, and they weren't wrong. I didn't really know anything. I was new to college hockey. I didn't know how really things work. I saw in practice that the guys looked really, really good. And then we start the year, and I mean, we were rolling kind of the whole season, and we only lost like 9 games. And yeah, I kind of just went from fourth line to third line to second line, and ended up yeah, throughout for sure. I thought I was playing good hockey, but yeah, as you get more ice time, usually your point production increases, and that's kind of what happened. And I played with Glover, who signed in the NHL, and Poland, who will probably sign in the NHL this year. Um, and we had such a good team. Ronnie Addard and Mikey Joyo. I mean, these guys, I can't tell you how many times just snapped it on someone's stick for a 2-on-1. So it was great.
Now, I do have to ask you about there's a highlight of the UMD goalie making one of the best saves
Yeah,
against you.
yeah,
I have
yeah,
to
yeah.
ask what
Bring that
was
one up.
this
No, I'm
I
kidding. Yeah,
I
yeah.
just want to ask the story behind it because it's nothing you can do. You did everything you could. It was just a
Oh,
great save.
yeah.
And I just have to hear like everyone always asks the goalie about it, but I want to hear what it's like from a shooter's perspective because that must suck. Like you did everything right and it still was saved.
Yeah, especially in the NCHC championship game. Holy. But yeah, I mean, Fancy, I don't think he had allowed a goal in like 9 periods up to that point. And yeah, I mean, who shot it? Glover shot it, tips off Poland right in front of the net to me. And, yeah, I missed, and I mean, he made the best save probably you may ever see. And I mean, he got some North Dakota fan behind the goals, like, but yeah, I pretty much just sat. I couldn't even believe it, and they showed it on the big screen. I mean, we were playing in the X. They showed it on the big screen probably 30 times. It felt like it never ended, and
Yeah.
it was just like I literally was just staring at nothing, and the boys are tapping me like, "Oh, good, you're good," and I, the next couple of days, the situation kind of died off, and you kind of laugh about it. The boys are like, "Yeah, like we didn't know what to say. Like you,
Yeah.
that was insane." And then, I mean, we just after that happened, it was like, wow. I mean, are we going to score on this guy? And we didn't. And then Michigan Tech played them, and they didn't. And then Denver squeaked one by them, and they beat them in the Elite Eight. But yeah, that save is something that I think I'll see. The NCHC will show forever.
And obviously Denver went on to win the national championship that year. So kudos
Yeah.
to him for basically the only goal he allowed was the team that won it at the end of the
Right.
season.
Right.
Yeah, talk about your national tournament experience. Even though you fell short to Minnesota, how would you talk about that experience a little bit? Because I was actually there for all
Oh, were
those
you?
games. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was at. I was. It was Ethan Frank has the hardest shot ever because I was watching warm-ups and like it hit the glass and it like stunned me a little bit. But no, it was a. I felt like your team played well. Obviously, I'm just curious, like, how's that motivated you? Because you're the only number one seed that didn't make it to the Frozen Four. So I'm curious, like, what that experience was like for you. I'm assuming it was
Yeah.
a good experience to get into the national tournament, beat Northeastern, and obviously have a hard-fought game against Minnesota. But it also must have sucked that you couldn't make it to the Frozen Four as well.
Yeah, the experience was awesome. I mean, we got a private jet. That was cool. And then, we show up and, we're the one seed and play Northeastern, battle, great game. Granger wins it on that crazy little Levi shot. It hits him and he wraps it around. And we went crazy after that. And yeah, then that Minnesota game, it was a really good game, and it's 1-0, and I kick it out, and Ronnie ends up scoring, and then they called me offsides. And then Minnesota went down and scored. I think that was probably with like 3 minutes left in the second. They score a minute into the next period, and you go down 2-0 in a tournament game. It is really hard to come back. But overall, the experience is great, and we're obviously super hungry to get back. There's a lot of people that said on Twitter for sure that we have no chance and we're losing 9 guys and all this, and kind of just block out the noise and play hockey, and that's what we're doing. So
I do want to ask you, obviously, that you had to go all the way to Worcester to play in that tournament. Are you in favor of having those neutral site games for the regionals, or do you think it should be hosted by the number one seed?
yeah, I think the number one seed should host it for a ton of reasons, but I mean, no one was at our. I mean, they were at the UMass game, but no one was really at our game. And Jack Purvick's is on our team. We talk about that all the time. That no one was really there. And how cool would it be if we were at Lawson last year? And obviously, it would be a big advantage. But I think the one seed deserves that advantage because, I mean, we fly out to Boston, and Northeastern has a 45-minute bus ride, but. Yeah, I mean, how cool would it be I mean, last year was Michigan a one seed, like Yost to be packed, and
Hmm.
that would be awesome, and all like Denver to have a home game. I mean, there's so many cool environments of college hockey, and I think for people to see it on like that are watching at home, if there was a packed crowd, I think people would think it was a bigger deal than maybe what it is right now.
Yeah, I remember being there, and I thought it was funny that Minnesota was the home team against UMass, even though it was clearly a UMass home game with all those fans.
And that was awesome. That was sweet that there were so many people. I mean, I don't think the teams really care. I think they would. I think most teams. I think if you ask Northeastern if they would have rather played in front of 1,000 or like 500 people, 1,000 people, or sold out 5,000 in uh, Kalamazoo, I think they would have taken the Kalamazoo one. So yeah, that's something the NCAA could think about for sure.
I also didn't think it helped that it was like the game was like at 12 o'clock on
Yeah,
Friday. Like people are working, so that I feel like if it was on a prime time, more
yeah.
people would have shown
Well,
up.
yeah. The thing is if we played at 12 o'clock on a Friday at Lawson, I could guarantee you there would
Yeah.
be there'd be sold out for sure.
Now, just we're now in a segment I like to call the non-hockey segment, where I ask you some non-hockey questions just to get
Yeah,
to know you a little bit more off the ice. First one is obviously we're talking about music since you were in Nashville. Well, what music do you like to listen to?
I'm a big rap guy. Being from Detroit, there's a lot of rappers that come out of Detroit, and my brother was big into that and hosting concerts and stuff. It's kind of his business, and so I definitely like rap. And then EDM. I love a bunch of EDM and the main ones, and yeah, that's kind of what we play in the locker room. So some of everything, and we go out to Spectre by like Alan Walker. If anyone listening to this pod wants to hear that, it's a good little jam. So
Hmm.
yeah, I like both of those, and I'll listen to some country, some rock. Um, if it's good music, I'll listen.
Are you an Eminem guy, I assume, because he's from Detroit?
Yeah,
That's the
huge
thing I
Eminem
know about
fan.
Detroit. I know
Yeah,
it's sort of a
of
basic
course.
answer for people that aren't from
Yeah,
there.
8 Mile. We watch that movie in the bus all the time, and the boys are always like, "You're not from there. You're not from there," which I'm not. But I like to say I'm pretty close. So
Yeah.
yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm a huge Eminem guy. If you're from Detroit and you're not a huge Eminem guy, something's wrong.
What's the most interesting thing you've seen or read this week?
This week. I would say I saw like an Alexander Ovechkin little thing of how many goals and game-winning goals and game-tying goals. And I want to say he had like 200. He has like 283 like career game-winning goals. I mean, that is, and it might even be more. I might be messing up that number, but yeah, looking at Ovi's different goals and then where they're from, and he has 500 from the one spot. That's probably the coolest thing I've read all week. I mean, just the number 800 goals is mind-boggling. I don't know if anyone will ever even get there again.
Do you think he's going to break Gretzky's record?
I hope. I want to say he will, but I mean, it's going to get tough as he gets into the late 30s. But I mean, the guy has if you watch him, he has chances every night, and I don't know, he's on probably has 15 goals this year. So yeah, I think I'd like to say that he'll do it.
I saw a post of like all the goalies that he scored on. It was like 140.
Yeah.
It was kind of crazy to see like the mirror
Yeah.
of all the
Yeah.
goalies that he scored on. It was cool.
Yeah, I think it might have been in the same thread. Yeah, that that is crazy. How many goals he scored, and I mean, I've seen him live. Well, in Detroit, he had a hat trick. My brother saw him live. He had 2 goals. Like, I mean, he gives if you go to see him live, he gives you a show, and he scores most nights. It feels like.
Yeah. The most interesting thing that I saw this week was probably just the World Cup final. I just thought
Oh
it was cool to
yeah,
see Messi win his first like major trophy with Argentina.
I had
And it was
that
just
precursor. Yeah.
yeah, it was just cool. Like I don't know, like I thought Argentina was gonna roll and win that game, but then France like scored 2 goals with like 2 minutes, and like it became a pretty entertaining game to watch. So definitely made me a soccer fan for sure.
Yeah, no, that was sweet. I watched that whole game this morning. That was awesome. I'm not a huge soccer guy either, but that was I mean, how could you not love that? It's great soccer, great sport.
Now, who on Western Michigan has the best style besides yourself, obviously?
Yeah. Um, yeah, I'd probably go with Jamie Rome, number 20 on our team. He he's a good looking guy. He wears nice clothes. Um, And yeah, anytime you see Romer, whether it's a suit on game day or just coming to the rink, he always seems to dress to impress.
Who's the funniest on the team?
Ooh, funniest on the team, I'd probably go Dylan Went, my roommate. He's one of my best friends, and I think he could make anyone laugh. If you just met him 2 minutes ago, he'll have the guy cracking up, and I've never seen anything like it. He's so good at talking to just anyone, and he's hilarious.
And then final non-hockey question is if you could have lunch with anyone in the world, who would it be and why?
Well, I'm gonna go with Dan Campbell. He's coach of the Lions,
Hmm.
and I'm a huge Lions guy. They got a huge win today. Go Lions! Restore the roar. One pride. Um, yeah, they're Dan Campbell. Just talk to him about motivating, and I think by the end of the lunch with Dan Campbell, you'd be ready to run through a wall.
Yeah, it'd probably be like steak or something like
Yeah,
I feel like
yeah,
meat. I feel
steak,
like that's all he
potatoes.
eats.
Yeah, no veggies. Just yeah, Dan Campbell would have you ready to go. I think I'd just go work out after or something.
Yeah, I think for me probably Wayne Gretzky. Just to hear
Yeah,
like the old school hockey stories from him would be pretty
yeah,
cool. To
that
sit
would be
down.
sweet too. Yep,
And
Wayno.
then maybe Eminem. I don't know. I feel like it'd be cool to hear like I've
Okay.
seen an interview where he talks about like how he like writes his songs, and I thought it was pretty interesting. It's like sort of a people don't realize how talented you have to be just to come up
Yeah,
with these different rhyme schemes.
and yeah, talking to Eminem about his life and how he creates songs would be right up there too. There's so many good ones to pick from.
Now, getting back to some hockey questions now. First one is for all the younger people that are listening to this, what advice would you give them about how to become a better hockey player and potentially make it to the Division 1 level like yourself?
Yeah, I would say just not worrying about other people and just setting your goal. If you want to play D1 hockey, doing everything every day that you can and you think is right that to make you the best. And I mean, a big part of that is in the summer, right? Like when I started working on the summer and training in the summer, I felt my game took a big step. And so, yeah, I mean, if any kids are listening, the number one thing would be just worry about yourself. And if your buddy's having success, it doesn't mean you can't have success. So just work hard and focus on yourself and don't get too caught up in all the things that you hear.
Now, For all the Western Michigan fans that are listening to this pod, what message do you have to them for the second half of the season? Obviously, you got the Great Lakes Invitational. Obviously, there was a lot of controversy with last year, so hopefully none for
Yeah.
this year. But what's your message to the fans for the second half of the season?
Yeah, I think we're really hungry. We're hungry, and we look forward to getting back on the ice, getting back in front of you guys. I think you're going to see a hungrier team for sure coming out in the second half and making a push for the tournament.
Now, do you have any shout outs you want to give to any of your teammates, former teammates, family members, friends? Feel free to shout them out, or if you want to plug anything, feel free to do that. The floor is all yours.
Um, yeah, I mean, shout out the boys that I've played with. Shout out my team right now. Shout out the Lawson Lunatics. Shout out Endurafin, great recovery drink. Um, and yeah, go Broncos. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, Broncos country, let's ride.
Yeah,
I had to throw that in there. But
absolutely. Let's ride
thank
Bronco country.
thank you so much, Max, though, for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate your time. It means a lot to myself, and I wish your team nothing but the best for the upcoming for the rest of this season. And I hope to see you guys in Tampa in
Yeah,
April.
thank you.
Now, one question I have, I just is what can I do better to improve the podcast?